YCS Vancouver is in just a few months, and I'm going to try to get a top with Dark Magician. Over the course of these next few months, join me on this progression and my journey to make Dark Magician as competitive as possible. Deep dive with me into my thoughts, theories, and let's craft the most optimal list for the 2023 format, ultimately leading me to the ultimate prize of a YCS top with my favorite deck. Hello everyone watching. Thank you so much for the endless support throughout this series, and because of that support, it really pushed me to continue this journey, and we managed to do the unthinkable. We topped the Duelist Nexus Case Event with our favorite magician. I went undefeated throughout 5 rounds of Swiss with Dark Magician, clutching out top cut, and prizing was later split amongst the top 4. Now, this isn't where the journey ends. We need to continue improving and continue to strive for that YCS result that we're all looking for. After all, that's why we're all here, right? Nonetheless, this is a massive accomplishment for the deck, and I'm so excited to share with you guys the list and the theory behind it. Before getting into this profile, I just want to say a quick thank you to some of my closest friends who've taken so much time in working with me preparing for this specific event, providing suggestions, analysis, and theory. I truly couldn't have done it without you beautiful souls, and you know exactly who you are. Without further ado, let's get onto the deck profile. I'm still so excited about how this list performed yesterday. We're going to start off this deck profile with the 1 copy of Dark Magician and the 1 copy of Dark Magician Girl. Normally people play 2, however in this list, because of the way resources work, you need the draw 2 of Soul Servant, and I wanted to minimize the bricks. We follow it up with the 3 copies of Magician's Souls and the 2 copies of Magician's Rod. Those of you who have been following me throughout this journey know why I hate 3 copies of Rod. I think 2 is the perfect number for Rod, as it's one of those cards that if you see 2 of in your hand, you're really cooked. Like it's a terrible situation to be in. We followed up with the 1 copy of Timaeus the United Dragon, as well as the best card in the deck, Illusion of Chaos. Illusion of Chaos pretty much fixes your entire hand. It adds the pieces you need. And then we followed up with the 2 copies of Soul Servant and the 1 copy of Secrets of Dark Magic. Now, I know I swore by 3 Soul Servants, and I still swear by 3 Soul Servants. However, for this tournament, I needed to cut it down to 2. Reason being is I needed to fit specific cards later on in this deck profile to maximize my efficiency into certain matchups. That's why Soul Servant is at 2 and not 3. However, I still think that 3 is the correct number. However, I was expecting a lot of Pearly, a lot of Branded and Kashtira at this specific case event, and because of that I have tech slots in my main deck to make sure that my deck was prepared for it. Some cards needed to be cut, and that's why I opted to cut the 1 copy of Soul Servant. Now for the best engine to play with Dark Magician. 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz, the 2 copies of Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous, and your 3 copies of Branded Fusion. This engine is unbelievable and has tremendous synergy with Dark Magician. Having Branded Fusion as an instant 1 card to Dragoon, as well as allowing and having access to other lines of play like Mirror Jade, Sanctifier, just adds to the plethora of plays and lines that we can do with Dark Magician that will allow it to adjust to specific matchups and situations. Sometimes Dragoon isn't the correct play. And finally, the MVP of the day, Blazing Cartesia the Virtuous. Guys, this card is unbelievable. It's Timaeus on legs. It's Timaeus on steroids, as a matter of fact. Quick effect fuse. It fuses with itself with DM to make Grang or the Dark Magicians, which can ultimately generate resources. It makes Granguignol, which pitches Albion for follow-up, or El Shadal Winda, which really oppresses your opponent. It's an amazing card for DM. Eventually, Branded will get hit to a point where Branded Fusion is limited or semi-limited or whatever the case is. I think Cartesia is a mainstay in DM for a long, long time. Now for the engine cards that aren't necessarily engine cards, we play the 3 copies of Fusion Deployment. This card is so crazy. As well as the 3 copies of Duality and the 1 copy of Shadal Schism. In addition to this, we added for this event 3 copies of Secret Village. This card is going to define Dark Magician in the meta. There are so many power spells running around. Secret Village is just so unbelievably crazy. It's without a shadow of a doubt the reason I won so many of my game 2s and so many of my game 3s. The ability to just lock out your opponent from a third of the card pool was outstanding. Pair it with Winda, pair it with Dragoon. This card wins matchups on its own, and I thought it needed to be made. In addition to this, it was analyzed that Pearly was going to be an incredible deck in the upcoming format. With Secret Village in the main, it essentially gave me access to shut down the best deck in the format essentially. With majority of their deck being spell cards, Secret Village and any spellcaster significantly limits their plays unless they go into really awkward lines of play, for example with Relinquish Anima. Moving on to Duality and why it's so strong in the main is because Duality and Cartesia, specifically Cartesia, it synergizes so well as they make Dragoon and Winda with just themselves and any lighter dark monster, as well as Duality being in your graveyard and allowing you to replenish your resources is so strong. Same with Cartesia, adding itself back to hand for fodder for Dragoon's negates is just so effective. And you just get it off 2 cards. It's so free, it's so good. Fusion Deployment, on the other hand, is a fantastic card. Having the ability to just summon Cartesia to your side of the field to enable your plays, as well as just summoning Dark Magician, not only to push for game at times, it's never happened in the case tournament, however, having the ability to summon Dark Magician and use it as material is just so free, right? It's essentially a 6th copy of Magician's Souls that does more and less in some ways, however, it's still such a good card. To round off this deck, we play the 3 copies of Nibiru, the 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, as well as the 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Guys, Super Polymerization is so dumb. It should be banned. This card is so crazy. The amount of times it just broke my opponent's board and allowed me to proceed with my combos and lines of play that otherwise would be impossible was just crazy. It's the best board breaker in the game. Droll, on the other hand, I think was a little lackluster today. I did prep for many synchro piles, many Dark World, and many of those new Mana DM cards. However, I didn't see any of them, and Droll was kind of lackluster today. Nibiru, on the other hand, let's get these out of the way. Nibiru, on the other hand, was a monster today. Every time I saw it, people just didn't respect it. They walked right into it. Every time I saw this card, it almost resolved, and when it did resolve, it shifted the tide of game exponentially. This card was so crazy today. It's by far, in a way, the best hand trap in the current format, in my opinion. That's it for the main deck. I think the main deck is as perfect as it can be for that specific event. It performed incredibly well. For the extra deck, we opted to play the 2 copies of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon and the 1 copy of the Dark Magicians. Now, this extra deck actually hasn't changed at all, with the exception of adding the 2nd copy of Albion the Branded Dragon. Albion just being able to pitch itself, or was able to be pitched off Grand Guignol for follow-up, and having an additional branded fusion monster to go into off-branded fusion was just really good. We followed up with the 1 copy of Mirajade, the 1 copy of Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, Lubellion, and then we go into our Grand Guignol. Grand Guignol was just such a crazy card today. It's unbelievable. What I am thinking of doing is maybe cutting a Albion for a 2nd copy of Grand Guignol, because there was many times where Cartesia could resolve the 2nd time. We then followed up with the Shadal package with the 1 Apocalon and the 2 Shadal Windows. The reason why this package is so good is because Dark Magician needs to have an unfair line of play to combat with the format. Winda and Dragoon with Secret Village just was insane. To round off the extra deck, we play the 2 copies of the Super Poly targets, which is Garua and Mud Dragon. And finally, we play the Despian Lulu Willith. This essentially is just to summon off the Grand Guignol. However, it did not come up nearly as much as I'd hoped for. Obviously, case tournaments, they're very... case tournament is a very small sample size to really judge how good this card could have been. However, what I am thinking is potentially making this the 2nd copy of Grang or an extra copy of a Super Poly target. I think that would really push this deck forward. For now, the deck topped, it did what it needed to do, so I'm not sure I'll see too much change. Lulu I didn't see, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to see it in the future. That's it for the extra deck. Now we'll just get into the side. The side deck I took with me to the case event was absolutely perfect. I don't think I would change a single thing. We start off with the 3 copies of Kurikara. Guys, the way this card performed today was insane. Every time I sided it, I saw it. It got me to a point where I think I'm going to cut Droll and put Kurikara in the main. However, I think Droll is just too good going first and going second. as well as into some specific matchups. In addition, we are playing the 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone because back row decks are incredibly scary, as well as the 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. The reason for Solemn Judgment is because we play those really oppressive going second cards. I think what this deck does struggle with, although it sets up an incredible board, I think that going first, having that extra insurance to avoid those crazy board breakers is just too good. Normally we'd side out the Nibiru for the 3 judgments and go from there. I think judgment is just a must. It might change in the future. However, it worked for me at the case event, and for now, it's definitely not going anywhere. In addition to this, we play the 3 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, as well as the targets that we play. We play the 1 Herald of the Abyss, the 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talents, and the 1 Hot Breeze Feather Duster. Feather Duster and Cosmic Cyclone technically do the exact same thing in different ways. Feather Duster, as strong as it is, I actually didn't side it in once today. I didn't see any Labyrinth. I was scared of the deck Labyrinth. However, I didn't side it in once. Talents is kind of generic. You guys, everyone knows what Talents does. Herald of the Abyss, though, was insane. Searching it off Triple Tactics Thrust into Herald of the Abyss pretty much outs Noir and that Pearly strategy. Pearly was a deck, like I said, it's such a scary deck, and I prepped for it. In some ways, I kind of over prepped for it with the Kurikaras, with the Herald of the Abyss, and things like that. However, it performed. Like I said, Kurikara, it was the best card in the side deck, and it's so good, I'm even considering maining it. That's how crazy this card is. It's by far my favorite card right now. We're definitely going to be experimenting with it forward. And that's the list. There's nothing left to show. I just want to take a quick moment to thank everyone who's helped me so far on this journey. We pretty much did the unthinkable, topping a core case event with Dark Magician. I'm still so excited about it. We went 5-0 after Swiss, undefeated into Top Cut. It was truly a remarkable day and a remarkable achievement. I can't wait to see everyone in the next video, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.